Okay, so as you've all seen about 2 minutes earlier, I do teach here. I teach chemistry. I also teach a couple of other things as well. And the topic of my presentation today is supposed to be how to excel in high school. Now, in a less formal term, so for those of you students who are here, how to survive high school. Okay. Now, first things first, I'm looking out at the crowd. Most of you look like you're already in high school or going into high school. So this should be mostly a review. Okay, so welcome back to high school. Okay, or welcome to high school. Now, first of all, why am I giving this presentation? Because throughout my teaching, what I've noticed is, a lot of students in elementary school and middle school like to, let's say play around, right? Classes are really easy. They don't really have to study. Their parents yell at them to go study, and then they just go run around and play around, don't listen to their parents, and then the next day they take a test and they get a 90%, and they're just like, yay, I passed. I'm good. All right? I've seen that happen very, very often. Now then, what is different about high school? Well, first of all, your classes are now going to be harder. Okay. Second of all, now your grades are actually important. And, later you will hear Dr. Yoshida talking about how to apply to colleges, and she will expand more about this subject. Now, how are your classes harder? Okay, they are no longer as simple as just memorizing it the day before. Okay, now, I say that to everyone, but obviously there are going to be some of those like smart people who, those of us normal people like to hate on because they always seem to get 100% on their school tests. But your classes are now going to be harder. Sometimes you may not be able to memorize your way through. Okay? And so the key point today is, how do you answer that? Right? How do you deal with your classes getting harder? Well, first of all, one of the important things to consider is, now we have a lot of different types of subjects. Okay, so first things first, let's see. Uh-oh. Looks like this is not good. Got aiming at that. Okay, so in middle school, language arts is now called English. Okay, now in 9th grade, you'll probably just be forced to take English 9. That's just your freshman 9th grade bio, or 9th grade English class. In 10th grade, you might take something called World Core. Now that is going to be English that is now going to be bunched up with world history. So all of the things you guys will be doing in class is probably related to history, those of you who have to take World Core. Now, depending on what your English class is actually called, you may have to have different types of reasons. Okay, now, more importantly, if your teacher asks you to do an analytical essay versus a narrative essay versus a persuasive essay, now you need to figure out what it is that my teacher wants. Okay, now, once you get to junior year or maybe even senior year, you have a lot of different classes you can take. There are 2 AP types of classes. Some schools may only offer 1, but that is AP English. Most schools will offer American Literature or American Literature Honors. Some schools will offer British Literature. There are many, many different types of classes. And now the key point becomes, how do you figure out what your teacher actually wants for this type of class? So one of the most important key tips is talk to your teacher. Okay, figure out what it is they're looking for in this class. Now let's take a look. Okay, social studies is now history. Now, because I didn't want to make my PowerPoint very, very wordy, social studies is usually only history for about 2 years. Okay, those of you who are in the Fremont Union High School District will know in 9th grade you don't take any history. In 10th grade you take United States history, you take world history. In 11th grade you take United States history usually, and then in 12th grade you take government or economics. Those of you who may have choices in your schools, right, you may have to consider, I can take other types of history. Now, history as a whole, you might think, it's just pure memorizing. Right? I just have to memorize all these events. Now, it depends on which class you take. Right? If you take up to honors or an AP class, it's no longer just memorizing World War I ended in 1919, I believe. It could be 1918. It's been a while since I've taken history. But what you also need to consider is, what caused the end of the war? What caused the start of the war? What caused the start of World War II? How are these all related? If you take a non-honors class, if you take a regular class, right, they might just make you memorize, World War I started here, ended here. World War II started here, ended here. Nothing else. But then in the honors or the AP class, they'll probably ask you, hey, did World War I contribute to the start of World War II? Okay, how did World War II affect the world and continue on in the Cold War? Okay, now you guys all live in the United States of America. The Cold War is important to the United States history. This is the type of thing you have to consider. If you try to memorize the day before, well, good luck. Unless you have a very, very strong short-term memory and you can memorize all the details and all the reasoning, okay, that's not going to go well, because you need to make sure how you get your progression of events. You need to make sure you think about how all these factors may have caused certain events.